إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أما بعد. طيب, we start inshallah, we resume Usul Dawah As Shaykh Abdusalam al-Burjis rahimahullah. We finished first three usul of Dawah Salafiah. We resumed the fourth one inshallah. Asl al-Rabi'. Shaykh says الاهتمام بعقيدة السلف علما وعملا وتعليما, giving due attention, importance to the creed of the Salaf through learning it, implementing it and teaching it. طيب, first of all, اهتمام بالعقيدة. The word عقيدة, we hear this a lot in Kalamul Mashayikh, in the speech of Mashayikh. What does it mean when we say عقيدة? The word عقيدة, from it is a verb called عقد. The word عقد means to fortify, to tie. Allah said, وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ, from the evil of tying knot. So aqidah linguistically means tying knot, aqd. So when we say aqidah, it relates to belief which is tied, fortified in the heart. And aqidah can be haq and batil. So when we, based on this definition, even the mushrikun, the atheists, the Yahud and Nasara, whatever they believe, that's aqidah. That's the aqidah, because they have tied their belief, that fortified this in their heart. So what the ulama says, aqidah huwa i'tiqadul jazim la yatatarraq fi al-mu'taqid. La yashq al-mu'taqid. That it is a complete belief that the believer has no doubt in it. So when the atheist doesn't believe in Allah, he tied that in his heart. That's the aqidah. When the Yahud and Nasara, when they believe, that's the aqidah, because that's what they have tied in their heart, fortified in their heart. Okay, so that's batil aqidah. Also, aqidah refers to aqidah which is salima, which is aqidah which Allah and the Messenger wants, the aqidah of the believers, aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, which is the definition is al-i'tiqadul jazim لا يتطرق المعتقد في بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وإيمان بقدر خير وشر. That a believer has complete belief and he has no doubt in it, and that is believe in Allah, the angels, the books, the prophets, the life after death, and the qadr, good and bad. That's the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, the believers. So when we talk about aqidah here, we talk about aqidah to salaf, which is which the Prophet mentioned in the Quran. Allah mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And so here Shaykh Abdusalam al-Burjis saying we have to attention, we have to give priority to this aqidah that we are supposed to learn, the 6 pillars of Iman, Arkanul Islam. We have to learn it, we have to practice this, and we have to preach this belief that we are going through. Now here, how do we know somebody has aqidah is upon salafiyah? How do we determine somebody is upon Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, or somebody has aqidah salima and it is aqidah according to Salaf al-Salih, pious predecessors? How do we determine that? Now, first of all, the basic question is that, first of all, what is aqidah fillah in terms of belief in tawhid of Allah Azza wa Jal, rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, asma sifat? Does he believe Allah everywhere? Does he believe in sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal? This is the most important part of aqidah. And as we know that when it comes to asma sifat, the ulama says this is where Ahlul Bidah separates Mu'attilun from Jahmiyan, Ash'ara, Mu'tazila. They are Muslims, but look, they are not from Ahl Sunnah. Their aqidah is not from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Their aqidah is based on Salaf. So when we see somebody not following that aqidah, they deny the sifat of Allah, that ta'weed, distort the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, they believe Allah is not above the throne, Allah is everywhere. Like when Imam Mubarak was asked, what do we say about Allah? What do we believe about Allah Azza wa Jal? He said, fi sama. We believe Allah is above the throne. That's the aqidah. Imam Malik said Allah is above the throne and His knowledge is everywhere. So that's the first thing we used to determine somebody upon Salafi or not. Aqidah fillah, his aqidah, things like that. Arkanul Iman, that they believe Arkanul Iman. What does he believe about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum? Does he love them, hate them? Because there are numerous hadiths about loving the Sahabas. He said that Hubbul Ansar, okay, and he's loving Ansar son of Iman and hating the Ansar love of Nifaq. And he said that loving Hassan Hussein is son of Iman and hating Hassan Hussein is son of Nifaq. So when we see somebody loving the companions, praising them, they're the best of the mankind, they don't talk ill about the companions, then he's the biggest part of Salafiyah. This is. If you look at the Ahlul Bid'ah, the Khawari, they hate the companions. Okay, Rafida, they hate the companions. So one of the ways to find out somebody not Salafi is when they start making ta'an upon the companions. Or, because some of the scholars believe that ta'an, absolute ta'an, any companion you take out of the Islam. The Sufyan ibn Uwaynah says, إذا رأيت رجلا يطعن على أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأعلم أنه من الزنديق. That if you know that, Sufyan ibn Uwaynah said that if you believe or if you come to know that somebody curses the companions, know he's from Zindiq. That's one of the important ways to know a person upon Salafi or not. Next one is Qadr. What does he say about Qadr? Does he believe in Qadr? Or does he, if he denies the Qadr, the way of the Qadariyah? Does he believe the pillar of Qadr, the knowledge, the written, the will and the creation? These are pillar of Qadr. Does he believe all that? Okay. Does he believe that we have control of our action, we create your action? These are signs that he's not upon the Salafiyah. This is dangerous. And we know Qadariyah do two types of Qadariyah. Okay? The ulama say إذا جادلتهم in Qadariyah إذا أقروا كفروا وإذا هثم خسروا. Yeah, that if you debate the Qadariyah, if you refute them, okay, if they accept it, then they refute it, and if they denied, they disbelieved. This is the Qadariyah. And Prophet said Qadariyah are Majus of this ummah. They are the fire worshipper of this ummah, because the Qadariyah, they believe, the Majus, the fire worshipper, they believe the two Khaliq. One is good, one is bad. Qadariyah believe that, they believe two Ilah, they made two creators. They say that we create our own action. They believe in Allah, the creator. Also, they believe that we create our own action. So, they're Majus. It's like Majus. They made two creators. So, Qadariyah Ahlul Bid'ah. So, if they follow things like that, they have such belief like that, then, it's not from Ahlul Sunnah. What do they say about Quran? What is Quran? Kalamullah. غير مخلوق. It's the speech of Allah, uncreated. From Allah it came, it'll go back to Allah Azza wa Jal. That's Quran. This Ahlul Sunnah says this, because Allah attributed the kalam to himself. Kalamullah. If they say, it's created, or if they say, it's expression from Allah Azza wa Jal, it's not really a true word of Allah, then it's from Ahlul Bid'ah. Okay, it's very important part of Aqidah. That every Ahlul Sunnah, the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah mentioned in the Aqidah books, Quran, Kalamullah. When Imam Bukhari was asked about Quran, he said, Quran, Kalamullah. Okay? غير مخلوق. Quran is speech of Allah, uncreated. Because Quran is speech of Allah, is attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal, and attribute of Allah is uncreated. So, that's not the way to know what he says about Quran. Because in this aspect, regarding Quran, you have Jahmiya, Maturidiyya, Kullabiyya, Ash'ari. A lot of people have debated in this aspect. Number 6, Ittiba' Sunnah. Do they follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in the ibadat? Imanu bil yazid wa yanqus. So, another important part of Aqidah is that if they say Iman doesn't increase or decrease, then it's something wrong. Because Iman goes up and down. And this is Aqidah of Al-Sunnah, so based on Quran and Sunnah. Iman goes up and down. It's not stable in one place. And this is one of the way the Ahl Sunnah decide if a person from Ahl Bid'ah or from Ahl Sunnah. Also, we decide somebody from Ahl Sunnah upon khair, amal min al-iman or not. Action is part of iman or not. And we have people deviated from that. We have in the wasat Ahl Sunnah, we have Murji'ah, and we have Khawarij. The Ahl Sunnah says action is part of iman. Okay? And that based on the action, Allah Azza wa Jal will give them status in Jannah. And this is Ahl Sunnah. And you have Khawarij. They say action is part of iman, but when you fall into one major sin, all iman goes. So what does Ahl Sunnah says? La, we said he is fasik because it's major sin, and the asal of iman is there, root of iman is there, but the perfection of iman is not there. So you have Khawarij. They say exactly what Ahl Sunnah says about action being part of iman, but they say that when one major sin he commits, all his action is gone, all iman is gone. That's wrong. But we can refute them from many, many hadith. The Sahaba fall into major sin, and no ayah came down to say they're kuffar. The Sahabi was drinking khamr, and the Sahabi radiallahu Ma'iz committed zina. A Prophet was alive. The woman Sahabiya committed zina from Ghamidiyya. She committed zina. No ayah revealed to say they're kuffar. No. And the ayah they use, وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَإِنَّ لَهُ نَارَ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. This ayah, that whoever disobey Allah and His Messenger, they will be in the hell for it. They will abide in the hell. Okay? So this is refers to the kuffar, not the believers. So Khawarij, they use this ayah for the Muslims. Subhanallah. So if someone says action is not part of iman, then it is sign of a bid'ah. This is Ahlul Bid'ah. Maybe he had the attributes of bid'ah. There's some dodginess here. So we can, based on that, we can suss out where he's upon. Action is not from iman. So this goes against Quran and Sunnah. Hukmi ghayri ma anzal Allah. This is also important part of our deen, mas'ala. That a lot of people, even in my class, people came and debated me regarding this mas'ala, ruling by Azan Allah Azza wa Jal. Takfiris, those who has fell into the errors and misunderstanding, they take this ayah and they declare the rulers to be kuffar. And let me just mention these ayahs. The ulama have said, Allah said, there's 3 verses. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. One says, ظَالِمُونَ and فَاسِقُونَ. طيب, the whoever doesn't rule what Allah has revealed by, then he's kafir. One is zalim, oppressor. One is fasiq, is a sinner. So how do we judge somebody kafir, zalim, fasiq? So the one who says kafir, the ayah, Ibn Abbas says, is lesser kufur. Another tafsir said, it doesn't take out the full of Islam. So when you see people using this ayat to declare the Muslim rulers to be kafir, no, he's dodgy. He's a takfiri. He's a khariji mentality. He's taking the ayah, distorting the ayah. He's not going back to the Salaf. Ibn Abbas and Mujahid said, they never declared a person to be kafir, whoever doesn't rule by what Allah revealed. They're zalim and fasik generally. When does they become kafir? There are conditions the ulama has given. That and they don't follow these conditions. They don't make these conditions. Openly they say they're kuffar. But akhi, look, for them to be kafir, there are conditions. If the ruler who rules other than by what Allah has revealed, if he believes that my law is better than Allah's law, my law is more suitable, Allah's law is not befitted now, if you make statement like that, then this is kufr, major kufr. And generally they don't say this, the rulers. And if a ruler rule by other than what Allah has revealed, no, he doesn't believe any of this, he's zalim, he's an oppressor. And a fasiq, a ruler is a fasiq, he is Muslim, but he rules by other than what Allah has revealed, he takes bribes. When the other rulers, they give him money and they follow them blindly, and based on bribe, he rules the country according to what they're saying. And we know that it's happening. So this mas'ala, this issue, is one of the important mas'ala. Based on that, we can judge a person upon bid'ah or sunnah. It's important mas'ala. We're not talking about issue in fiqh and salah. We're talking about this aqidah issue. So Ahl Sunnah will never declare a Muslim ruler to be a kafir until the mawan is established. The prevention are there. But you'll see from the takfiris, they attack them directly without understanding the verses, what the Salaf have said. That's one of the way. Also, mulazamatul ulama. That's also important. That the people who are upon bid'ah, you see the scholars are upon bid'ah. And they follow their way, they blindfold them. And you never see Ahlul Sunnah sit with Ahlul Bid'ah and take knowledge from Ahlul Bid'ah, because this is important part of our deen. Prophet says that a person follow the deen of his brother. So if you're going to be sitting with the takfiris, the Ahlul Bid'ah, you're going to become like that. You're going to become like that. So it's important, when we see a brother sitting in a class of Ahlul Sunnah, we judge him based on apparent, he's Salafi, inshallah. Okay, based on Umar said, when Prophet passed away, that we used to judge people before by revelation. Now, Prophet is not with us. Remember, he's saying that now Prophet is not with us. We judge people by what is apparent. Apparent, if he's good, then we judge him good, even though his heart is bad. Okay, and if he's bad, apparently, we judge him bad, how bad good is in his heart. So we don't know what's in his heart. We judge by what is apparent. So based on his suhbah, based on who he seeks knowledge from, we judge him based on that. And it is important that if a student going to Ahlul Bid'ah class, then it's dodgy, something going on. Someone calling to takfiri and khariji mentality, and he's going to sit in his class, he's going to become like that. It's a big question mark in his manhaj, aqidah, manhaj, yeah. So that's also one of the way to know somebody is Salafi or not. So you have to put all this balance before you will declare somebody Ahlul Bid'ah. And al-kabair la yakhruj muslim anil Islam. So the major sin does not take person out of follow Islam. So if a person says no, major sin takes him out of follow Islam, it's a big mistake. Okay, he's jahil, but where is he learning from? So to hold his belief is against Sunnah of the Prophet. It is against the deen of Allah. This is bid'iyah. This is where the Khawarij. So this is takfir mentalities. To declare murtakib kabira to be kafir, to declare a Muslim who fall into major sin is kafir. This is no way of Ahlul Sunnah, it's way of the Ahlul Bid'ah. If you listen to Wasiyah, give Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah had a whole chapter on the hukum on the person who commit major sin. What Allah and the Messenger said. He brings all the dalil, all the evidence is there. So Ahlul Sunnah believe the one who fall into major sin is still a believer, as long as it doesn't make it halal. Imam Tahawi said, لا نخرج أهل القبلة من الملة من الإسلام بذنب ما لم يستحل. In Tahawi, the point is going to come, inshallah. We're going to study that. It's going to come. That Imam Tahawi said that we do not declare or take a Muslim out of Islam because of his sin unless he makes it halal. So if someone drink khamr, a Sahabi was drinking khamr at the front of Prophet ﷺ. It's haram, and he's drinking it. Prophet didn't, he would hit him with his sandal or something harshly hit him, to reprimand him. But he didn't say you're a kafir. He drinking khamr while it's haram. And Sahaba, we give example of the Sahabiyya radiallahu anhum, that they fell into zina. If there was a time they would be declared kafir, this is the time. Allah never revealed no verses to say they're kuffar. They're still Muslim. Okay, based on the Quran and Sunnah. So, and the sign to say someone is, inshallah, upon khair, he doesn't believe that. It's important mas'ala. Does major sin take out of fold of Islam? Many of them. تحريم الخروج على الأئمة. One of the major role important mas'ala issue in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that we do not make khuruj. We do not revolt against the rulers. If someone said you can revolt against the rulers, then he's upon bid'ah. Okay? Because this is where the Khawarij. We don't say he's Khawarij, maybe he has a khasratul khariji. His attributes of Khawarij. And this is enough for him to say he's got bid'ah in him. Okay? He's got bid'ah in that person. He should be reprimanded, advised. this is the way of the Prophet ﷺ, because the Prophet forbade khuruj. Ahlul Sunnah forbade khuruj. Prophet said this is the way of the Jahiliyyah, and he described this is whoever died in that state died as the Jahiliyyah. And Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu, they said we gave bay'ah to Prophet ﷺ, and one of the bay'ah was allegiance that we don't make khuruj upon the imam. Because why is it forbidden to make khuruj upon the rulers, revolting against the rulers? Because the mafsada is great. Mafsada is great. Harm is greater. So the ulama do say, Shaykh bin Baz and others, if you want khuruj, then these are the conditions. That you have imam, it's controlled, and there's no bloodshed. Okay? And kufr bawah, open kufr. But the most important one is that there is no fasad, afsad, more fasad increases. For example, if you rule in kufr bawah, open kufr, okay, you want to bring him down, but by revolting against him, more innocent people will die, more bloodshed, then say don't make revolt, because harm is greater. Prophet ﷺ said that, Ya Aisha, the Kaaba is not in its original position, but I'm to put it into original position if there was no greater mafsada. What is the mafsada? That the Quraysh will be, more fitna will appear on that. More harm will evolve from that. So I did not do it. So what do we learn from this? Anything that you do, if there's a greater mafsada, you don't do that. You don't change that. So the scholars have said there has been no revolt against the rulers except harm was greater. Harm was greater. So that's why it's haram to make khuruj upon the rulers. That's the al-asl rabi', giving importance to the creed of the Salaf through learning and implementing. So we've understood what aqidah is, and we understood how can we determine somebody is upon bid'ah. These are some of the basic ones. These are some of the basic ones which will help us to allow to know who is upon bid'ah. طيب. أصل الخامس الاهتمام بالسنة النبوية والحث على عمل بها والدعوة إلى ذلك. Giving importance, priority to Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and craving to practice it and giving dawah to that. So these are another important usul dawah salafiah, is that to follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and calling to the Sunnah. First of all, what does Sunnah mean? ما معنى السنة? Now when we talk about Sunnah, لغة Sunnah means طريقة. Sunnah means طريقة, a way, a path. طيب. When Prophet said to the companions, when they requested something very shirkiyat, we learn something from that. When the Muslims who became Muslim recently, new in the deen, they say, Ya Rasulullah, give us that anwad, kama lahum that anwad. Give us a tree that we can seek blessing from it. The sword, when we fight, we get blessed, we can fight good. Like the mushrikun has that anwad, the tree gives them barakah. That's a major kufr. Why? Only Allah gives barakah. No tree can give you barakah. And to believe other than Allah gives you barakah is major kufr. So same thing that Bani Israel asked Musa alayhi salam. Okay? He didn't declare them to be kuffar, Musa alayhi salam. Nor did Prophet declare them to be kuffar. Why? Because they were ignorant. They didn't know. That's one of the reasons, mani', prevention that we have, that we can't declare an ignorant person to be a kafir. Because he's ignorant. That's the mercy of Allah. This is knowledge hasn't gone to that person. When Mu'adh made sajda to Prophet ﷺ, sajda, okay, he didn't say Mu'adh, you're a kafir, but he didn't know. He did it out of respect, but he didn't know it's haram. The Prophet taught him not to make sajda to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So one of the reasons that we do not declare a Muslim kafir if he's ignorant, when knowledge never reached that person. طيب. Sunnah in the muhaddith. Sunnah with the muhaddith, the people of hadith, is that ما أضيف إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قولا فعلا تقريرا خلقا وخلقا. When muhaddithun, like Shaykh Albani, Shaykh Rabi' our time, and Imam Ahmad, and then the ulama of Ahl Hadith, when they describe hadith, a sunnah, they say anything that is attributed to Prophet ﷺ, statement, action, approval that describe his character and his fashion, the way he is. That's hadith. Now we have hadith statement. For example, hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Prophet said it. That's hadith. Fi'lan. Hadith that talks about Prophet's salah. Sahaba describe how Prophet prayed. Let me give you an example. One of the hadith that he said that Prophet ﷺ is to do ruku'. He is to do ruku' like this, and if you were to put water on his back, that will not fall. So the Sahaba saw Prophet making ruku'. He describing the ruku' of the Prophet ﷺ, that if you were to put the water on his back, it will not fall. That's how straight his back was. So that's fi'lan. Prophet did action in salah. Taqreeran. I give you two examples. Taqreeran is that Prophet saw, did not say anything. That's hadith. And we have a lot of hadith like that. And we derive ruling. So Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, they said, we said this from the Prophet ﷺ, we're sitting, we said Abu Bakr is the best of the ummah, best of the nation, best of the believers after Prophet ﷺ. Prophet heard it, never said anything. That's one example. Taqreer, accepted it. Another one is that Khalid bin Walid, he ate lizard in front of Prophet ﷺ. Prophet did not say anything. He was offered, he says, it's not from me. I don't know. But he never forbade anyone else. So he aqarra, Prophet accepted it. That means allowed. Okay? Allowed. Taqreer. Khuluqan and khalqan. Khuluq is adab. So, like hadith says that I have been sent to accomplish the perfection of character. That's the hadith. And when the hadith says, when Allah described Prophet إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You have the best of the character. When a woman came and said, Ya Aisha, what is the adab of the Prophet? He said, the whole Quran is adab. That's Prophet ﷺ. So Quran and Sunnah talks about his adab. Also adab of Prophet ﷺ. When Anas radiallahu anhu, he said, I was with the Prophet for 10 years, khadim. Prophet never said to me one day, why did you do that? Why didn't you do that? That's how Prophet was with Anas. He's describing his life with Prophet ﷺ. He's describing how he was with the Prophet ﷺ. Showing his khuluq, adab. Khalq. That's not adab, that's how he looks like. So one of the definition of hadith describes Prophet ﷺ. So there's a book called Ash-Shama'il, description of the Prophet ﷺ, and by Imam Tirmidhi. And that book, the explanation Shaykh Abdusalam is there. And basically hadith talks about how Prophet looks like. So Sahaba will describe, one of the hadith describe how Prophet is to walk. And I know if you know how Prophet walked. He walked, whenever he used to walk fast. And he would put when he walked, imagine he coming down the mountain. You're going to be leaning forward, isn't it? He will walk leaning forward. It's like leaning forward, but he will walk fast. That's the way Prophet is to walk. He described his hair. It was dark, long, no curly. No straight curly, but black hair he had. So many things like that. He wasn't too fair, not too dark. Okay? Adami, Prophet ﷺ. So he was described in the hadith how he used to look like. And he described the Prophet ﷺ, his beard was very thick. To cover his big beard here on the head. Long and big. So you have hadith like that. Khulq, khalqan. Khalq means how you look like. So that's the hadith according to the muhaddithun. Now hadith, sunnah according to the fuqaha, meaning a mustahab. So meaning, the rawatib we pray after every 5 salawat, they say it's sunnah. Fuqaha will say it's sunnah, meaning mustahab. What is mustahab? Mandub. Means that you should do it, but if you don't do it, you don't get sin for it. Like the definition is sunnah or mustahab, yusab fa'iluhu wa la yu'aqab tariku. That the person who does it will be rewarded, but he won't be punished for leaving it. That's mustahab, that's sunnah, according to the fuqaha. Now, according to the usul, scholars of usul, ahlul usul, the sunnah is exactly what the muhaddithun says. ما أضيف إلى رسول الله قولا فعلا وتقريرا وخلقا وخلقا. Meaning exactly same as what Muhaddithun says. But أهل الأصول ينظرون إلى قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وفعل وتقرير ليستنبطوا دليلا منها. That أهل الأصول, they look into the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, action and approval. They will look into that Ahlul Usul and they will derive ruling from it. Okay? Muhaddithun who just study hadith, they will not able to derive ruling. Okay? Like Imam Ahmad was Muhaddith. He said, we did not know some of the aspects of Usul al-Fiqh until Imam Shafi taught us. Imam Shafi. Okay? So Usul al-Fiqh is by Imam Shafi, he's the one who came up with Usul, subhanallah. So let me give you an example. Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, مَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَاجْتَنِبُوا. That whatever I forbade, leave it. This is his kalam. Whatever I forbade, leave. Command. So the Usul will say now, Prophet commanded. That means wajib. Okay? Everything Prophet commands is wajib. You have to leave. They say, وَمَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَسَتَطْعُمْ. Whatever command you do as much as you can. Against the command, you have to do everything Prophet commands us to do. Okay? So anything Prophet command becomes wajib, mandatory. So the Ahlul Usul will look into this. It's okay. Everything Prophet told us to do, we have to do it. Again, Allah said, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. Establish your prayer. So the Ahlul Usul, scholar of the Usul fiqh will say, okay, Allah command us to pray. That means prayer is wajib. Okay? That's what they do. So, fi'lan. So, they look at the action of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet never left any rawatib. But he never commanded you to do, but he never left anything. Okay? The Fajr prayer, Sunnah, Prophet never left any time, even when he was Musafir. Witr, he never left. But he never commanded you to do it. But he never left. So the ulama will say, okay, hang on a minute. He never commanded you to do Sunnah and Rawatib. He never commanded you to do it. But he never left it himself. Okay, it's mustahab. So the Usul fiqh will look into the fi'l of Rasulullah. Prophet never ever left this Rawatib in his life when he's muqim. That means these a'mal is mustahab. You don't have to do it, but you should do it. You should never leave it. And witr, Prophet never said you have to pay witr, but he never left it. Imam Ahmad said, the Salaf, they believe witr is no wajib, but if you leave it, Imam Ahmad said you're an evil man. Okay? So, it's heavy, meaning that it's no wajib, but he never left it. Prophet basically saying, it's no wajib, but don't leave it, do it. Do it. I never left it, why are you leaving it? So, the Ahlul Usul will look into this statement, action and taqreer, and they'll derive ruling from it. That's what beautiful thing about learning Usul fiqh, giving hukum. Let me give another one. Everything Prophet ﷺ commands is wajib, yeah? Like in the hadith, Prophet said, تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُرِ barakah. Now, the ulama of Usul will say, okay, let's diagnose this hadith. Prophet commands us to make suhoor. So that is suhoor is wajib, because everything Prophet command is wajib. But they say, no, it's not wajib. Here is no wajib. Because there's something else in the hadith says, which makes it mustahab, that it's barakah. It's not wajib on you, but get up, because barakah in it. Okay? Another hadith says, that if a sip of water, have it. Shows the importance of suhoor. Another hadith, when Prophet said, Ya ma'ashar shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba' falyatazawwaj. All the youth, the young ones, okay, get married. It's a command. فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ. If you're able to get married, get married. It's a command. Why? The hadith says that we help you to lower your gaze. So, meaning that it'll help you to lower your gaze. Get married. So this command means mustahab. So ulama, they use this hadith to derive ruling. That's what the sunnah mean to them. Right? The sunnah, whatever, yeah. They use this aqwal to come to a ruling. And we give an example for all of them. Yeah. that's what sunnah mean according to the muhaddithun, the usul and fuqaha. But here, yes, we have to hasten, we have to strive acting upon the sunnah and giving da'wah to that. Every sunnah that you know, come to know, practice them. Okay, sunnah in salah, sunnah in siyam. Okay, practice the sunnah, inshallah. And don't leave the sunnah, because these are important part of our actions. طيب أصل السادس let me just quickly there are many hadiths that talks about following the sunnah. خير الهدى, that best guidance is my guidance. عليكم بسنتي, upon you to follow my sunnah and sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin. Okay, and hadith said, إني تركت بينكم لأن استمسكم فيهما لن تضل. كتاب الله وسنتي, that I have left between you, that if you have to hold on to it, you never be misguided. Book of Allah and my sunnah. Okay, so there are many evidence for that. أصل السادس, the sixth principle is that الارتباط الوثيق بعلماء السنة, maintaining a firm connection with the scholars of as-sunnah. Important aspect of our deen, that we stick to, we have good connection of the scholars. Now, before we talk about anything else, scholars, who are the scholars? Scholars are people who are mentioned in the Quran, whom Allah praised them a lot. Allah said, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ. طيب, whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, they are among those whom Allah has blessed. Okay? Blessed. Whom Allah blessed? From the Prophet, the Siddiqeen, وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ. Now, the question is, my brothers, ulama, as we know, they inherited the Prophet. They inherit nothing except what knowledge is left by the Prophet. Ulama have been praised in the Quran and the Sunnah. The question comes is that, who is good, ulama or the shuhada? Now, in this ayah, a lot of people say ulama is better than shuhada, and both of them have fadl, virtues, no doubt. When Allah said min al-nabiyyin, we can't be prophets, was siddiqeen was shuhada. So the ulama said that siddiqeen, other ulama, they are mentioned before the shuhada, indicate that ulama had more virtues than the shuhada. Why? I'll give you an example. Imam al-Ajurri has a book called Akhlaqul Ulama. In there, he brings one of the companion, Abu Darda, I think, or Abu Dhar said, that Allah guides the ummah through the scholars the way He guides the people in the middle of the night when the stars come. You know, when the stars comes out, people get guided. Allah guides the ummah through the scholars. And then narration of Ibn Abbas, he said, if I had a choice between staying and learning the deen and going to jihad, I will stay and learn the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because وَمَن يُرِدُ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرٍ يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, that whoever wants Allah khair, goodness, Allah give him understanding of the deen. And scholars have the most understanding of the deen. And then the ulama said that there's no difference between Anbiya and the scholars. Only difference is that they're prophet and they're scholars. They're carrying the same message, conveying the same message, they're guiding the ummah. So in that sense, the ulama, they're nur for the ummah, they're light for the ummah. They guide the ummah. Okay? And they guide the nation. Okay? One book can guide the whole nation. One book. The whole family can be guided through that book, through this da'wah. Can you imagine? But shuhada, they have fadl, they have virtues. They're fighting the path of Allah. They're giving blood for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Of course they have virtues. No doubt. They have the greatest reward. But when the shuhada, when they die for themselves. Okay? Ulama, when they die, they leave books behind. The shuhada, they don't leave book behind, but they have died in righteous manner, but they died for themselves. Ummah cannot benefit from them in that sense, because they haven't left da'wah, knowledge behind. Sadaqah jariyah. But they've died, Allah accepted the shuhada. But as for the ulama, they've explained books after books. Okay? If you look at us Salaf, look how much knowledge they have left. They never died in the battlefield, but they've died in the books. They studied the books, they wrote books, they explained books. Imam al-Nawawi died early 40s. Early 40s, Imam al-Nawawi died. Great Imam. Look how much book he has left. He never fought in the battlefield, but he's battling with the knowledge. And he still remembers. He still remembers in their books and conference, except you have to mention Imam al-Nawawi. So the fadl ulama qila fadluhum a'la min fadl shuhada. That some of the people say that the virtue of ulama is greater than the virtue of the shuhada. Having said that, they both have virtues. We can't deny that. But having a knowledge, you can benefit the ummah. You can guide the ummah. You can teach the people the knowledge that they need. Subhanallah. And guide people from the falsehoods to the haqq, from the darkness to the nur. And if Allah uses you for that, the biggest ni'mah. And in the society we're living in, we need ulama more than anything else. So there's a khilaf between there's a kalam among the scholars who is the fathermost, scholars or the ulama or the shuhada. Look at the virtue the ulama has done, and they have still been mentioned in our lectures. So this is ayah that talks about virtues of ulama. Also here ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa uli amri minkum. All those who believe, obey Allah and obey the messenger, and ulil amri minkum, and those in the authority over you. And who are the authority over us? Ibn Abbas says, his tafsir is the fuqaha, the ulama. They are the authority of us, and show the virtues of ulama. And also Allah says, شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة أولو العلم. Allah has testified, bear witness, that none has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah, and the malaika and the ulul ilm. The ulul ilm here is not the ulama. Allah has used ulama to testify this kalimat tawheed, so the virtues of ulama. So here what we learn is to have firm connection with the scholars, take knowledge from the scholars. And those who took knowledge not from the scholars, you see they are upon bid'ah. Because once you leave connection with the ulama, it's like if you are ill, if you start treating yourself and don't go to the doctors, what's going to happen to you? You're going to mess yourself up. So go to the doctors. So we say our doctors are the scholars in Islam. So go to the scholars and don't derive. I've seen people, they're deriving things, making takfir, without understanding the mas'ala, without understanding the ayah, verse of the ayah properly. They start making takfir on people. And this is because they haven't got connection with the ulama. And Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that the ummah will cease to be upon khair as long as they stick to the ulama. And if they don't stick to the ulama, then halak, destruction will come upon them. The hadith said Allah does not take knowledge away from the people except by taking the ulama. Allah is not going to take book from your house. Your book's going to be on the shelf. But Allah will take the knowledge away by taking them passing away. So when the ulama goes, people go to the juhala, head of the juhala, ignorant people, and they'll give fatwa, they'll misguide them and misguide the others. So this is the important methodology, fundamental of da'wah of salafiah. They have to stick to the ulama as much as possible. That's why we have to go back to the scholars in masail. Okay, simple masail we can know, but greater masail you have to go to the scholars. A GP can give you small medicines, But when it comes to deep one, they go to specialists. So we like GP, simple one we can do. Brother here, Talib al-Ilm, the brother who sat with the ulama, they can give you some of the understanding, fatwa. But when it comes to difficult issues, you have to pass it to the ulama. You know? So it's important, usul, asl min usul dawat al-salafiyah. طيب, let's go to the asl السابع. الابتعاد عن الحزبيات والجماعات الإسلامية السرية. Keeping away from partisanship and secret Islamic groups. Now, in Islam, we don't have a groups. We have Allah said, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا. And that is my sirat, straight path. The word sirat, there's no plural to it. Only one. Okay? So there's only one path. One straight path. Okay? There's no hizbiyat in Islam. There's no jama'at. So someone say, but what is Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is a word, not a name of a firqa. It's a name of a group. It's a name given to the knowledge base, the knowledge that it carries, the aqidah, the belief and action and the methodology. That's what it is. These are the people that follow the sirat of Allah. They don't follow any other path. That's why they call Ahl Sunnah, Ahl Jama'ah, because they unify themselves upon the Quran and Sunnah. So people need to understand what it means. Okay, Shaykh Abdusalam said, let me just read. As for any affiliation that causes division among the Muslims, leads to departing from the Jama'ah, inclining towards different sects, following the path of religious innovations, and abandoning the Sunnah and adherence by forbidding what should not be forbidden, approving what should not be approved, then such affiliation is blameworthy. So that's what Hizbi is. As long if they do that, then this is Hizbi. Yeah, this is Hizbi. So we don't follow partisanship. We follow the Quran and the Sunnah. So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is a firqa to najiha, the saved sects. They follow Quran and Sunnah. We know different groups. We don't call to groups. We call to the haqq. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من دعا بدعوى الجاهلية فهو من جثى جهنم. That whoever calls with the slogan of the days of ignorance will be among those kneeling around hell. This is and a man asked, even if he prays and fasts on Messenger of Allah, he personally replied, yes, even if he prays and fasts, rather call yourself by the name that Allah has given you. The Muslims, the believers, the servant of Allah, Musnad Ahmed, Shaykh Albani authenticated the hadith. Now, we call us a Muslim believers, yes. You know, at the time of Prophet ﷺ, there was only one group, Muslims, Sahabas. Allah, we call them Muslims, it's okay. But Shaykh Albani told us about it. A man was saying, I'm Muslims. Then he refuted the person. Okay, nowadays we cannot get away with that by saying Muslims, because we're Muslims everywhere. Not everybody upon the haqq. We have Muslims from the Khawarij, Ibn Tahrir, Jamaat Tabligh, Ikhwan Muslimin. They're all Muslims. So which methodology do you follow? Which slogan, which path do you follow? We don't follow bid'ah. We don't follow the bid'ah they are upon in aqidah and action. We don't follow these things. So basically, we are Muslims who follow the way of the Salaf. We have to say this where it's necessary, because we don't have to write it on the back of a shirt and I'm Salaf. No, but we have to put that. We have to add that to show that we are different than those Muslims who call into bid'ah. طيب. Other than that, we don't call into hizbiyat and things like that. As long as we follow the Quran and Sunnah, where the Salah, alhamdulillah, this is free from hizbiyat and all that. أصل الثامن الالتزام بما دل عليه كتاب والسنة وأجمع عليه سلف الأمة في معاملة وأئمتنا وحكامنا. Adhering what is indicating by the book of Allah and Sunnah, and upon which the Salaf of this Ummah agreed regarding our rulers and scholars. Okay. طيب, we covered what Sunnah is. Yes, we have to adhere to Quran and Sunnah, the book of Allah and the book of Allah and the book of Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. These two things, as Prophet said, have been revealed with Quran and something like that. And that's Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And Sunnah, we have to understand, Sunnah, we define what Sunnah is, isn't it? Sunnah tufassir al-Quran. Shaykh Abdusalam said, Sunnah explains the Quran. Some of the Salaf said that Sunnah is more needed for the Ummah than the Quran. Because you can't worship Allah without Sunnah. So one Prophet said in the Hadith, خُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, yeah, take from me the right of Hajj. You can't make Hajj without Sunnah. Because Quran does not explain how to make Hajj. Sunnah explains the Hajj. Also, one Prophet said, when Allah said, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ, establish your prayer. But Allah doesn't explain how to pray. You have to go to the Sunnah and see how Prophet prayed. Ruku, sujood, what he said in Ruku, what he said in Sajda, what did he say when he came out from Ruku. All these things you will not find in the Quran, you find in the Sunnah. Lot of the Muharramat, detailed one, you will find in the Sunnah. In the Sunnah, in the Quran, you will not find the prohibitions of when it's the one who, the women who make gap between the teeth, the tattoos. You don't find in the Quran the prohibition. You find in the Sunnah. Okay, so a lot of prohibition, detailed one in the Sunnah. So Sunnah tufassir al-Quran. Sunnah is needed for the Ummah more than the Quran, but both are revelation from Allah Azza wa Jalla. So basically, Quran is explained by Prophet ﷺ. So in the Quran, Allah mentioned that He said that وَيُعَلِّهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and that He taught you the book and the hikmah. And Imam Shafi said, ذكر الله في الكتاب القرآن وذكر الحكمة فسمعت من الأرض من أهل العلم بالقرآن يقول حكمة سنة رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم رسالة. That Allah mentioned in the book Al-Quran and He mentioned hikmah. And I heard the ulama of my time, when the hikmah is mentioned in the Quran, it means the sunnah. Okay? And we have tafsir, Ibn Tabari, Ibn Kathir, and they all said when hikmah is mentioned in the Quran, not all the time, depend, but this verse, وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ, the word hikmah means sunnah. Ibn Tabari, Ibn Kathir, they said hikmah means sunnah. So we have to adhere to the sunnah, and we have to unify ourselves in the sunnah, stick to the ulama. Inshallah, that's the important part of our da'wah. أصل التاسع مبايذة أهل البدعة وتحذير منهم, that boycotting the people of innovation and warning against them. Now, this is one of the important aspects of the deen, the warning Ahl Bid'ah. First of all, what is Bid'ah? Bid'ah, the ulama says, هو اختراع الشيء لا مثال السابق. We mentioned this so many times. To invent something, it never existed at that time. Never existed. So you invent something, never was there before. That's Bid'ah. So when Umar radiallahu anhu described the Tarawih to be Bid'ah, he means linguistically. Because when he praised the Bid'ah, he done something no one ever done. That's linguistic Bid'ah. That's okay. Are we talking about Umar going to pray Bid'ah in Sharia, in Ibadah? La. So when Allah said Badi'u samawati wal ard, Badi' means the originator of the heaven and the earth. So the heaven and the earth linguistically is Bid'ah. Because Allah Azza wa Jal created something no one ever created. So it's that sense Bid'ah. So when you see Bid'ah in dunya, new car, new equipment, new computer, new laptop, all these Bid'ah is allowed. We need that. Okay? Otherwise the world will not run for too long. Plane, a Bid'ah. The airplane. Okay? Time of they never had airplane. We have airplane, alhamdulillah. This is something that we need. So Bid'ah in lughat and linguistics means something been invented when never existed before. And a Bid'ah in Sharia is this. Shaykh Abdusalam said, البدعة ما لم يشرعه الله تعالى ورسوله وهو ما لم يأمر به أمر الإجاب ولا استحباب. The bid'ah in Sharia, something that Allah and the Messenger never legislated, never command you to do, in terms of wajib, or never mention mustahab. So you inventing something in ibadah, never been legislated by Allah and His Rasul. قال ابن رجب البدعة ما أحدث مما لا أصل له في الشريعة تدل عليه. So Imam Ibn Rajab said bid'ah is that anyone who invents in Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal, there is no base in the Sharia. So we explain some of the bid'ah. There's a bid'ah called, the ulama explain, bid'ah al-haqiqiyah. The bid'ah in true reality. Meaning there is no basis in the Sharia of Allah Azza wa Jal. So for example, to bid'ah in aqidah. Okay? Certain bid'ah will take out of all of Islam, bid'ah fil aqidah. The bid'ah of Jahmiyyah, the Qadariyah, or the Rawafid, Yahud wa Nasara. These bid'ah will take out of all of Islam. These are bid'ah, but take out of all of Islam. These are true bid'ah. Bid'ah which will not take out of Islam, but haqiqiyah. For example, Miladun Nabi, celebrating the birth of Prophet bid'ah like that, celebrating your own birthday, things like that, believing it's from the Sharia. This bid'ah is haqiqi, there's no asl in it. There's a bid'ah idafiyah. Bid'ah idafiyah, the actual action is sunnah, but the way they do is bid'ah. The additional bid'ah, they add how to do it. That's called idafiyah. So for example, azkar. After salawat, we make azkar, yeah? Now, we sit down and we make azkar. That's what Prophet did. Now, if someone says, the Imam says, okay, let's all of us get up, we go round and we make the azkar. We say, what you're doing is bid'ah, but your azkar is no bid'ah. It's the kayfiyah, how you're doing it is bid'ah. This could be bid'ah idafiyah. We have bid'ah tarkiyah. That if we leave it, it's bid'ah. So for the example, the scholar they use, the ulama, is bid'ah tarkiyah, is that when those three persons, or the group of people went to Aisha, and they asked Prophet about his ibadah, and they felt low. So they went and said, one of them said, I'm going to pray, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to fast, I'm not going to break the fast, and I will never get married. So this is sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So they left that sunnah, tarkiyah, they left that sunnah, and they said, we're going to live our life like that. So Prophet, when he heard that from Aisha, he told them, and he went, are you the people who said this? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. He said, I pray, I sleep. I fast, I break fast. I get married. Man raghiba an sunnati falaysa minni. That whoever leave my sunnah is not from me. Whoever leave my sunnah, they left his sunnah. So that's bid'ah. If someone says, I'm just going to live my life devoted to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, I'm not going to get married. That's bid'ah. You can't do that. Sunnah to get married. You know, one of the companions, he asked Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, I want to Uthman, Sawani Uthman, not Uthman radiallahu anhu, another Sahabi, he said, I want to devote myself, Uthman bin Mad'un, I want to devote myself worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. I don't want to get married. So Prophet said, no. He didn't allow him to do that. And the ulama said, based on this hadith, there's the maslahah and mafsada. So the ulama said, this is usul fiqh now, they said that the maslahah is that he will not get married, he will worship Allah. Benefit, alhamdulillah, worshipping Allah, good thing you're doing. But by doing that, there's greater mafsada. There's little bit of maslahah, but mafsada is greater. The ulama said the mafsada is that if he doesn't get married, the Prophet Ummah will not increase. Okay? Prophet said get married. Okay? Righteous women that will give, my ummah will increase. And he saw that is greater mafsada. If you don't get married, that will not happen. So get married. And devote yourself in worship. So, shows that this is called tarkul bid'ah. Bid'ah tarkiyah. You're living the sunnah of the Prophet. So bid'ah is different levels of bid'ah. Shaykh Albani makes a beautiful statement. He said, not everyone commit bid'ah is ahlul bid'ah. Not everyone commit kufr become a kafir. Bid'ah are different levels of bid'ah. So when we talk about bid'ah, even when if you know Imam Fasik, he does bid'ah, according to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that if he doesn't pray, he's a bid'ah. That's a bid'ah of itself. Because as long as he's Muslim, he go and pray. Uthman radiallahu anhu prayed behind the Imam, he's a Fasik, he used to drink alcohol. Abdullah bin Umar, Abdullah bin Zubayr, they prayed behind Khawarij. Because they're still Muslim. But obviously, if you have a Salafi masjid, a non-Salafi, go to the Salafi one. But what we say is that you don't question the Imam. What do you say about this in Aqidah? You don't examine him. As long as Muslim, you pray. You pray, because this is manhaj of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You pray. The bid'ah is with him. When it comes to Ahlul Bid'ah, the Ahlul Bid'ah are two types. Ahlul Bid'ah, a person that does Bid'ah. We know, we see in our cultures, in our family, relatives, they are upon Bid'ah. Because we've studied few books, we studied with the scholars, we learned, we know this is Bid'ah. These are the normal people, they're just doing Bid'ah. They don't know, they don't understand. They need tarbiyah, they need dawah. You teach these people. They don't promote that. They don't know. Second type of Ahlul Bid'ah is the Bid'ah who do Bid'ah and call to Bid'ah. These are the people we warn against. Okay? These are the people we warn against and warn against the Bid'ah. Because there's an evil, you have to change it. You have to speak out. And Allah Azza wa Jalla spoke out against the Ahlul Bid'ah, Ahlul Shirk. Imam Ibn Umar, he spoke out against the Qadariyah. He warned them, warned against them. The Ummah will be, other people will be falling into this bid'ah. So it is part of our deen, who in the authority, scholars, to do refutations against Ahlul Bid'ah, to prevent their bid'ah, to make the community aware of his bid'ah. So they don't fall into bid'ah. And it's part of our deen. But Ahlul Lidhalik, person who has knowledge, and he can refute the person based on knowledge, not based on hawa. Okay, have to be based on knowledge, and the scholars backing up what he's refuting. It's no, I think no. I have evidence that what you think is bid'ah. It's not from the Quran and Sunnah. So these are the type of people who does bid'ah and call to bid'ah, promote bid'ah. They have to be warned again. You have to make tahdhir of them. You have to warn them, so people don't follow their bid'ah. Look at Shaykh Abdusalam in his time. He wrote books on Asma wa Sifat, refuting the Ash'ariyah, to warn against the bid'ah. It's not something new. It happened from the time of Salaf. Ahlul Bid'ah were warned against it. طيب, Asl al-Ashir, the last one inshallah bi'idhnillah. So we've covered Ahlul Bid'ah, what is bid'ah, and to warn against the bid'ah, the important part of our deen. التزامنا بالكتاب والسنة وكل شؤوننا وأحوالنا. That holding firmly to the book and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in our all affairs and all in every circumstances. So we covered some of them, that when Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul, or those who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger, وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, and those in the authority over you. وَمَن يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ, that whoever obeys Rasul obeyed Allah Azza wa Jal. And we have a hadith, كل أمتي يدعون الجنة إلا من أبى فقالوا من أبى يا رسول الله قال من أطاعني دخل الجنة ومن عصاني فقد أبى, that all of my ummah will enter Jannah except those who refuse. And they said, who refused to enter Jannah, O Messenger of Allah? He said, those who obey me will enter Jannah. Those who refuse me disobey me has refused to enter Jannah. So we have to stick to Quran Sunnah in all our life, in every affairs, in Islam. We have to practice Islam in all affairs, all circumstances. Stick to the Book of Allah, stick to the ulama, stick to the brothers, inshallah. And this is the last important part of our Asl min Usul, that don't leave the book of Allah and the Sunnah. And as you have seen, many people are coming in and out. May Allah give us thabat, may Allah give us firmness, and may Allah give us tawfiq to learn the Quran and Sunnah and implement the knowledge in all our life, all our affairs. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah accept from us. Ameen.